few more people roll in, but I'm Laura Berger. I am one of the founding members of this group. I've been working with Bree for a while now, and I'm so excited to connect with you. So I am a registered and licensed dietitian. I work specifically with women in perimenopause and menopause, not just with weight loss, but also helping just improve general health and really understanding our bodies and what we need to feel well and perform well. In this group specifically, I have a really unique perspective for you guys because I'm not just a nutrition professional coming in and being like, here's all the things that you should be doing. I also own a business. I'm on social media. I'm creating content. I feel all of the same pressures and stresses that you guys have, and I understand that. And I myself, and then I help my clients and people in my community integrate the right habits with matching our high level expectations for ourselves. And especially as women, we're often taught about nutrition from the lens of like weight loss, right? And sometimes it gets put on the back burner. But nutrition is literally the foundation of how your body functions. And when we start viewing it in that light and understanding what we as women need from our unique biology and chemistry to perform well, to feel good, and to continue feeling amazing as we go on in life and as we age, that is the education gap that often happens. We don't really learn what we need to care for ourselves beyond like eat less, move more, right? Those are just kind of the general nutrition tips. So I want you guys to leave today with a really clear vision of what's going on in my body, what changes are happening as I age, maybe after I've had children, as I'm getting into perimenopause and menopause, which for a lot of women starts in your mid to late 30s, right? And you don't even realize that it's happening because it happens very silently. So we want to put our best foot forward and make sure that we're supporting our bodies and continuing to be able to perform, because we don't want to be depleting ourselves and putting so much energy into our jobs and our business and then having nothing left for our family, our kids, our personal life. It's all important to make sure that we're performing well in every area, and it's absolutely possible, but we are not men and we require different needs and different support. So that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. So I'm going to share my screen with you and we will go ahead and get started. Except I'm in the middle of my presentation. Can you guys all see this? Yes, thumbs up. Okay, amazing. So we're going to talk about fueling your next level and really thinking about, okay, if I am having this expectation of myself to perform at this level, what things do I need to put in place to make sure that I can stay there and I feel good doing it, that I'm not having a mental crisis every day, that we're supporting all of those systems. And that is so important. And I think oftentimes we're not taught that nutrition impacts almost everything, including mental health, how you feel, all of those things. So that's what we're gonna kind of look at today. So first, I'm giving you permission. I'm giving you permission to care for your body and lead your business at the highest level, because oftentimes we think it has to be one or the other. I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to eat well. I don't have time to stop and eat a meal even. I have to put all this energy into that. But the reality is you can do both, okay? And part of it, and I'll talk about this on the next slide, is getting to the point where we start valuing nutrition in the same way that we do other things, not just looking at it through the lens of weight loss, but realizing that we need to have this strong foundation of health in order to perform well and to feel good. So you can absolutely do both. But for women, particularly in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, there are really specific shifts that have to happen with your diet, with your lifestyle, if you want to feel good and if you want to continue performing. And when we shift our mindset from, oh, it's something I need to do, or yeah, I need to do that occasionally, or you're haphazardly putting healthy habits together without any kind of plan or structure or value, that what happens is your body suffers as a result of that, and you cannot perform at that high level. And that's when women start getting diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, autoimmune diseases, cortisol crashing. Your body can only take so much without the right support. So as we're pushing ourselves to the limit and juggling more in our personal lives and our professional lives, we want to equally match what we're doing with a high level of support from our diet and lifestyle, okay? So if we just perform, push ourselves, we're going to be amazing in our career, but everything else is going to suffer. Your marriage, your family, your kids, you're going to have no energy. You're going to be crashing on the couch at 9 p.m. and being like, what is wrong with me? Okay. And that's because we have to make specific shifts to support our body. Okay. So nutrition is not just about weight loss. Of course, it helps with weight loss, right? But what I want you to think is bigger. And this is why it gets put on the back burner. And you can also put exercise in there too. Exercise is not just equal to weight loss. Because, and I've worked with women, I've been private counseling for 11 years. And I can tell you that people come to me and think that weight loss is their number one motivator, and that only lasts a short period of time. If you don't take the value deeper for why you're making the changes you're making, it will not last. And that's when we start labeling ourselves as a failure. I'm unmotivated. It's not true. You just haven't valued it in the correct way. So when we shift our value from, oh man, I need to lose a couple pounds, which, because really most women at some point, if you've had kids and family and you're busy, you're like, the number on the scale doesn't really matter to me that much anymore. So it has to be bigger. It has to go deeper. These are actually some of the values. And if you guys have other values for yourself that you want to put in the chat box, these are ones that I thought of that I value or that other women in business or my clients tend to value. You value having energy. You value performance in your job, in your personal life. You value having mental clarity, sharpness. You value being able to hold a lot and do it well. You value being able to be present as a parent, as a spouse, as a friend, family member. You value being strong physically and mentally, and you value feeling good in your clothes. Brie, we know you love that one. Okay. So if these are values to you, if we can start seeing that nutrition impacts all of those things, well, now we put it at a higher rung in terms of how we look at it. Same with exercise. We bring it up the scale. It no longer is on the back burner. Okay. So these are things that we want to start thinking about, connecting what you do with your diet and lifestyle to these things that we actually value in our professional and personal life. So you are building something incredible in your business, in your life. That's the dream, right? We want to have a successful business. We want to have a successful personal life, but your body feels all of that. So if you place a high demand on your body without supporting it correctly, those systems become taxed. This is when we start having low energy. Those energy systems are taxed because we're going. We're shunting lots of energy towards that stress pathway. But if that pathway is not supported, guess what ends up taking the hit? Your hormones. And as women, that really impacts us starting in your mid 30s to 40s and then into your 50s, because those systems are less stable as we have these natural hormonal shifts that happen with aging. Men are not the same way. They have similar hormone cycles throughout their whole life. Yes, testosterone can take a hit for them, but it's not the same as us. We're constantly fluctuating. So we have to stabilize our nutrition and support our body, and we have to stabilize our exercise and our body composition. Otherwise, we start feeling low energy. But this is the sneaky part that happens. This often just gets blamed on stress. And if you go to your doctor, even you're like, man, I just don't feel like myself. I'm just not feeling energized. I feel like I have more anxiety. You're just stressed. You have anxiety. Here, take an anxiety medication, right? That's kind of the pathway that a lot of women get put on, when actually those systems are fragile. And those are signs that your body's not getting the right support. So again, giving yourself that permission to support those systems in a different way. Because you might be running on empty. You might not be fueling properly with your diet. You might be eating the incorrect things for where your biology is now. You might not be getting the right type of exercise. Your body composition is changing, and that impacts everything in your body. You might be experiencing weight gain, mood swings, more anxiety. A lot of women report even just like, my body just feels different. Even if the weight isn't really happening, like I don't feel as strong, I feel changes, more central weight gain. These are all signs. We don't want to just blame hormones. They're signs from your body and from your hormones that is not getting the right support. So when we eat well and we start moving our bodies in the correct way, that's going to help address a lot of these things. But as you gain fat and lose muscle, that increases inflammation in your body. It changes your insulin system. I'll talk more about that in a minute. And your energy systems are going to suffer. You will not be able to perform at the same level. You're not going to feel like yourself. And that's when you just keep pushing and placing further stress on those systems and feeling less like yourself. So we want to reverse that. Okay. So you're holding a lot. But what happens is women, when they think, man, I'm not feeling great, or I need to be better at being healthy, I need to put more effort to this, we just go back to doing the things that used to work, right? Okay, I just need to be more disciplined. I need to eat healthier. I need to tighten up on my diet. I'm going to start fasting. Like, you just start kind of haphazardly picking these nutrition habits that maybe served you 10 years ago. But now when you put them on the body where you're at now, very different place in life, very different hormonal phase, it doesn't work. And it actually can work against you, and it can make you feel worse. So it's not that you can't see progress. It's not that you can't feel better. It's not that you can't improve. It's that you might be doing the wrong things that are not supporting your body. And this is where we want to get out of the mindset of deprivation, eat less, be more disciplined from a nutrition standpoint, and actually ask that question, What does my body need to be well? What systems are not being supported? What systems are being taxed and they're not getting the right nutritional support? Because nutrition isn't just about calories, protein, carbohydrates, and fats. It's also nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that support literally every system in your body, your brain, your energy systems, your ability to even produce energy from the food you eat. And if that is not being supported properly, your body feels the brunt of that. So, not that I like to think of women as more delicate, but essentially we are. We just have to be more intentional about how we fuel ourselves and how we think about nutrition so that we can continue to be successful. Okay. So, let's talk about what your roadmap really is to thriving, right? Because that's what we really want to think about. So, there's the mindset shift. There's thinking about nutrition differently. That's the first step. And I think a lot of women get caught up in our 30s, especially into your 40s, because this is the time when life is changing rapidly. You have kids, you have a job, like everything's growing, growing, growing. And we don't also recognize the shifts that have to happen with our nutrition exercise. We want to look at what's happening in your body, what's changing, okay? How to support our stress response, how to restore our energy and focus, and then really the power of building lean muscle mass and why that is so important, not just for weight loss or aesthetics, but also for you to feel good and maintain a healthy hormone balance on a daily basis. So we want to shift, first we want to work on shifting our mindset from an afterthought to essential. If I have time, when I can fit it in, to actually prioritizing it, because remember, going back to all the things that you truly value as like number one, nutrition is going to support all of those. Exercise is going to support all of those. So on the one side, I have a lot of things that you may have believed or been told in the past, right? Eat healthy to lose weight, exercise. It's like, oh, I got to burn calories. I have to do the things because that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm gonna do it when I have time, or believing that my body is working against me, but my body hates me. Stress is just coming with the job. I'm supposed to feel tired and exhausted because I'm so busy. And a lot of times we start as like, it's just a cultural thing, right? It's like push, push, push until we're at our breaking point. But we want to shift from that to actually learning how to nourish our body to perform at our peak. We want to use movement as a very powerful tool for your brain, for your body, for your hormone balance, and then you feel better. We want to rest intentionally. It's not just about, I got to exercise every day and kill my body, but how are we doing it more strategically to actually help us build lean muscle and support those systems versus draining them, okay? Over exercising is a big problem I see in women too, like killing the cardio all the time, and it actually can work against you, especially as you get into your 30s, 40s, and 50s. Sleep, non-negotiable. We have to rest and repair. That's when our body is burning fat. That's when our body is resetting for the next day. We're restoring, we're rebuilding muscle. Those are really important. And it's easy to just push and try to get work done when our kids are sleeping. But at the end of the day, we have to also give ourselves that rest and repair time. And then we want to learn how to support the stress system. I think a lot of the mindsets are like, if you have stress, we just have to reduce it. And you're like, that's not always the reality, right? I can't just stop doing the things, stop caring for my family, stop working. Like I have legitimate demands. So what I like to think about instead is like, well, how do I support that system so that it can still perform, right? The demands aren't going away. How can I support those systems? So if you're having any type of symptoms, and this can be a wide range of things for women, it can just be from anything like feeling off in your body to weight gain, body composition changes, feeling like you have inflammation, low energy, fatigue, brain fog, mood swings, all of those things. These are just signals that your body's asking for a different kind of support. It's very easy to blame hormones and to blame being a woman and so feel sorry for ourselves, but we don't have to feel that way. We're going to rise above that and we're going to say, what do I need to do to feel well? Okay, that's the question we want to ask ourselves. So when your body changed, whether you had children, so that changes a lot of things, right? But it also changes your body metabolically more than people realize. But then a lot of women go from having kids to being thrown into those early phases of perimenopause, and then that progresses over a 10+ year period. So that can be starting in your mid 30s for a lot of women, very silently, and then it just progresses, okay? So we want to think about building a really stable foundation so that even as hormones are fluctuating and declining and erratically happening in our bodies, that we have a stable foundation. Your body composition is stable. We have higher lean muscle mass, lower fat mass. That's going to help stabilize hormones. And that we're also eating a consistent nutrient dense diet so that everything is supported and those fluctuations take less of an impact on our body. So a couple of things that are happening, perimenopause 101 for women. And again, wherever you're at in this cycle, it could be a little bit happening. You might not be there yet, but just knowing what's coming is helpful. The first thing that's happening is estrogen is fluctuating and it's on the decline, and it's sporadic. So some months it might be stable, and then other months it's less stable. What typically happens is that if you have higher stress, it's going to make those fluctuations more dramatic. So you might notice, like, man, I had a more stressful month, and then my cycle was earlier or later, or it was heavier. You feel it more in your body. Those are real things because you lose some of that resiliency as estrogen fluctuates. Estrogen keeps a lot of things stable in our body, including our stress hormones, our cortisol, which I'll talk about in a second. And when that starts to fluctuate, we just have to be more intentional about supporting that stress system. So this can lead to things like weight gain, mood swings, increased anxiety, decreased focus, brain fog too. And this is where women might say, like, man, I just don't quite feel like myself. I feel like I'm not performing. Like, nothing's wrong with me, but I just don't feel like I'm where I was before. This is where we look at stabilizing the diet, looking at exercise, what type of nutrients are coming into your diet on a daily basis. Those are all really important to help stabilize those systems. Cortisol dysregulation happens. If you guys have been in the health space online at all, people talk about cortisol all the time. A lot of it is inaccurate in terms of, like, they put all the focus on cortisol, like this is your one problem and the only thing to focus on. This is a huge part of it, but it's not the only thing. So when we think about your stress hormone, if that is pumping all the time, again, we want to think about supporting it. When you don't have estrogen there buffering it, then it can become even more, your body becomes more sensitive to stress. So putting practices in place that help regulate your body, even little bits throughout the day, and I'll talk about that in a minute, can actually help maintain your energy, your weight, and make it so that even when you have stress and things go on in your life, it's not controlling your life. Insulin resistance is one of the things that most women do not know happens to their body as they age. And we think about, if you don't know what insulin is, it's a hormone that your body produces and it's released after you eat carbohydrates. It helps keep your blood sugar stable. So it brings down your blood sugar after you eat it. However, after you eat carbohydrates. However, when you have loss of lean muscle mass, higher cortisol, and estrogen fluctuations, that leads to something called insulin resistance. So your cells are resistant to that hormone. This leads to a whole host of symptoms: disrupted sleep, brain fog, cravings. If you're like mid at 3 p.m. cravings for snacks and things, salt, that can be a sign of insulin resistance. Belly fat gains, weight gain, weight loss resistance. Those are all signs of insulin resistance. So a big part of the nutrition therapy for helping stabilize your body is also helping stabilize blood sugar. And this is where just eating less or skipping meals or fasting can actually work against you because you're not stabilizing blood sugar properly, okay? And then progesterone is something that happens to shift as well. And this is one of the ones that goes down first in perimenopause. This can where you can have sudden anxiety, disrupted sleep. And it's not that we just have to blame progesterone. Things like higher cortisol, higher insulin, and nutrient deficiencies can drive it down faster. So again, we have a little bit of control over that to actually increase it naturally and help stabilize it. And a lot of the symptoms of low progesterone can actually go away naturally. A lot of women get put on progesterone as a first line of defense in perimenopause, but the women I work with, a lot of those symptoms go away just with the right diet and lifestyle change. So it's cool to see how much what you do on a daily basis can actually help stabilize some of these hormones. And then you're not having to go on medication, as soon or really maybe at all. Okay. All right, so let's talk about stress hormones, because this is probably one that we all feel, right? Like there's days when you're like, oh my gosh, I have a million things on my list. Like, how am I going to get it all done? But we all have a natural cortisol stress rhythm throughout our day. Cortisol should be highest in the morning. This is what helps wake you up, have focus, mental clarity, ready to go in the morning. You should have energy first thing in the morning. If you're waking up in the morning, like barely getting out of bed and just dragging that first part of the day, that could be a sign that your cortisol is actually under firing. And it's not high enough in the morning. So some people's can be flipped for various reasons, but naturally we have highest in the morning and then it gradually falls throughout the day. But in order to regulate this properly, we want to make sure that we are not overstressing that system with certain things. So things of our old diet past tend to haunt women in perimenopause and beyond. Things like skipping meals or under fueling throughout the day, not eating breakfast, just relying on coffee throughout the day, eating too much sugar or carbohydrates. Even if it's calorically appropriate and you're worried about portion sizes, it's more about the composition of the food, not just calories anymore. So that mindset has to shift. Too much cardio or too much exercise in general that's high intensity without proper recovery can absolutely put too much stress on this system. Does that mean you should do no cardio? No, but for many of us, like I used to run all the time. I don't run anymore, really. I can run, I just choose not to. I do more strength training and intentional high intensity work. And I see a lot of women love their marathons so much, but I just see it wrecking their body because they can't make the shift to building muscle. And it's just stressing their body way too much. So again, you just have to know your own body. And am I putting too much stress with exercise? Do I need to shift how I'm exercising? Obviously, mental stress, physical stress from your job and things like that are going to put challenges on this system, but also blood sugar instability is going to put more stress on your body. So this is why diet components where we help stabilize blood sugar is going to be really important for you to help stay stable and to support this system. Okay. So one of the things that I really recommend for women is fueling your body consistently through the day. You do not need to eat breakfast at the crack of dawn, but you should be eating something in the morning, and you should be hydrating in the morning, and you should be eating something with protein, okay? Not just grabbing one egg or grabbing a bar and sitting down at your computer and getting right to work, but actually being intentional about a nutrient-dense, balanced meal at some time in the morning. I actually do recommend like at least a 12-hour fast from your last eating point the night before to the next morning. And even if that creeps into like 14 hours, that's fine. But I don't recommend too much longer than that, because that's when your body, you're waking up, you're driving into work, like you're diving into your stuff, you're putting a lot of stress on your body. Adrenals are why you feel so energized, because that's what's actually fueling you. You're not actually fueling from what you ate. And more stress on your adrenals means more cortisol output, and it's artificial energy, essentially. So we want to actually fuel our body correctly. So don't be afraid to eat more of the right things. We've been conditioned for so long to think like less is more. That's a huge mental shift that we have to make. It's actually like, let me eat the protein, let me nourish my body and be okay with that. And then I'm going to actually perform better, and I'm not going to be hungry and snacking later on in the day just to make it through. Okay. Your potential to feel well is high. We just have to fuel properly. So a couple other things that we can do and that I recommend to support your stress response. I'm very intentional about a lot of these things because if I'm not, I feel it in my body. And once you start connecting habits with how you feel on a daily basis, you'll start realizing how important it is. So right now there's a ton of research supporting one of the things that helps with cortisol regulation. So remember that natural pattern throughout the day is getting outside in the morning and getting natural sunlight. So one of the things I do, I take my kids to school, I come home, I park my car in the driveway, and I get out and I walk around outside before I even go inside, because I know if I go inside, I'm going to dive right into doing stuff and I'm not going to go back out. So I intentionally, I look in the direction of the sun, I breathe fresh air, I think about regulating my body and getting in a good headspace to be successful that day. What that does is that trains your body to get in a natural rhythm and to support those systems, your natural circadian rhythm and your cortisol patterning. And what that actually does is it also supports your sleep that night because you're sending signals to your body. So if you're struggling with sleep, if you're struggling with feeling low energy or not, like feeling like stress is taking over, getting outside and getting natural light, even if it's cold, I know it's hard sometimes in the winter, but looking in the direction of the sun for at least 10 to 15 minutes is so powerful. And if you can do it more than once, even like throughout the day and give yourself different time points, what you're doing is helping to retrain that system, okay? So it doesn't happen overnight, but it is helpful to do it consistently over the course of a couple of weeks, and that will help. The other thing that I recommend is mineral support. So I've talked a lot about placing stress on that cortisol system. When you have higher stress, a lot of minerals that your body needs for general function, for your thyroid, for your brain, for your metabolism, it gets shunted to survival because stress is survival. And when it's chronic, your body is always in survival mode. So it depletes a lot of those systems. So rather than just pushing, and then hitting adrenal fatigue and like cortisol crashes, what we want to do is think about supporting that. So a lot of women are actually low in things like magnesium, sodium. Okay, so electrolytes can be really helpful, potassium. These are all found in nutrient-dense foods. But one of the things that I think is really helpful for a lot of women and that I personally use and that they feel makes them feel better is using like a non-sugar electrolyte solution that is like a decent amount of sodium, and then it has other things like potassium, magnesium, phosphorus. Put it in your water and sip on it throughout the day. Or at that 3 p.m. time when you're feeling like caffeine or sugar, right? It's like electrolytes. Do that, because the question is not like, how am I going to get through the day? It's, what does my body need to function well? Remember, we're always going back to that. And mineral support is so powerful. That's going to help regulate your nervous system. It's going to support healthy hormone production. It's also going to help with sleep and things. It's going to get rid of cravings. If you're feeling like you're craving foods, you're either under fueling or you're not getting the right mineral support. And this can take all of those things away. So I think that's a really powerful tool. A lot of women are actually low in sodium when you have really high stress. And I know we think like we've all been taught like sodium is bad, salt is bad. It's actually not. It's only bad when you have high insulin. So fueling with it properly is really good. And then strategic exercise. So this is where we want to move away from just over exercise or just the exercise pile where people just keep adding more and more and more to try to feel better and lose weight. We want to be more intentional. So strength training is going to help lower cortisol over the course of the long term. And because it's helping improve that insulin sensitivity. We also want to think about more like moderate cardio. Doesn't mean you can never do higher intensity cardio, you can never run, but if that's your primary way of exercise, we got to incorporate that strength exercise. Otherwise, you're just burning muscle. You're not, and then that's affecting your metabolism and everything else in your body. So walking is great, also great for stress relief, increasing circulation, blood flow, incorporating walking on your off days. You do actually need recovery days from lifting, okay? So what we do in our fitness, we have an online fitness membership, and it's a home membership, and we do 3 full body days a week that also incorporate cardio components. But then people say to us, well, oh my gosh, should I be exercising more than this? Like, what can I do more than 3 a week? And I'm like, if you're actually performing at the level you should be, you need that recovery day, because that's how you build muscle. Otherwise, you're never building, you're breaking down always. And that's when we get behind, okay? Because as women, especially, we're fighting both age and hormonal related losses of lean muscle. So we have to be intentional and strategic about how we're going about regaining it, not just continuing to add more things, because that doesn't always get us to where we want to go. And this is where like our control response, we're like, let me do more to get the result, right? But it's actually about being smarter about how we're doing it, okay? So if we want to increase natural energy, focus, and support our metabolism, there's a couple things that we should be doing. So most women are seeing a drop in their resting metabolism, not because metabolism changes in your 30s and 40s, it's because of the loss of lean muscle. Okay, so metabolism doesn't actually decrease, but when you have higher inflammation and loss of lean muscle, that does actually reduce the amount of energy you're burning just sitting there at rest, okay? Women feel more fatigue in midlife, and then we have an increase of poor sleep and insulin resistance. So we have to adapt our diet and our exercise to offset those things. You're not a victim of those things. We're not a victim of hormone. We just have to be educated about how to shift correctly and be okay doing that, making space for it in our lives so that those things don't hold us back. So things like getting protein at every meal. And this isn't just hitting a protein number throughout the day. A lot of times we're like, oh, get at least 100 grams of protein. And then it's like barely eating anything and then cramming it all in at dinner, okay? You want to be strategic about how the rhythm throughout your day. So 35 to 40 grams at breakfast, 35 to 40 grams at lunch, maybe a small snack in the afternoon that has protein, and then 35 to 40 grams at dinner. And when you get into that rhythm, what happens is blood sugar stabilizes, hunger stabilizes, it supports that stress response. You're not putting a lot of stress on your body to perform all day with underfueling. You're gonna feel better, you're gonna feel more satisfied. You're not gonna have those cravings. We need to be strategic about carbohydrates. Not all carbohydrates are created equal. Remember, we lose some of that resiliency to tolerate the sugars and the quick digesting carbohydrates. Even if they're healthy carbs, a lot of things are very packaged and processed to where they're putting more stress on your glucose system. If you have higher stress, the last thing we need is more stress on that glucose system, okay? So we want to think about shifting to where we're getting our carbohydrates from, to very whole food sources. My best recommendation are as many non-starchy vegetables as you can have. Those are a carbohydrate. We don't think about vegetables as a carbohydrate, but they are. And they stabilize your blood sugar, and they have fiber. And that is the thing. I've looked at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of food logs, and that is the thing that's always missing. Women like vegetables, they're just not eating them. But when you're intentional about including a lot, not just a little serving, a lot, half a plate, couple cups at each meal, pair that with your protein, your life will be transformed. Okay. You will not believe how good you feel. You're not hungry. You're not craving snacks. You will feel so good on a daily basis. That is the key right there. A lot of people are just trying to hit a protein and fiber goal without understanding the method behind how to structure things and what foods to use to do that. Okay. We have to be more strategic. Don't undereat or skip meals. This is putting stress on your body. I know it can be hard to stop and eat. I get it. Even sometimes making like a shake or a quick meal can feel annoying because I want to keep working. But I know I can feel it in my body when I am getting to that low blood sugar point. We often mislabel that as cravings, or I love sugar, or I love salty snacks, when really your body's just hungry. So if you're feeling that instability in your body, and this is where mood swings and things come in, brain fog, your body's underfueled. When we're intentional about fueling on the front end before we get to that critical eating point, blood sugar stays stabilized, we stay performing at a high level, we're supporting our stress and demands throughout the day. So eating has to be proactive. We're kind of getting into a rhythm throughout our day where we're supporting our body's natural rhythm, and then you can continue feeling well and not getting to those critical points. I've noticed this in myself too. Like if I miss a meal, I become a mean person, and I'm like, that could easily get blamed on hormones, right? And it's like my husband even sent me one, like this was a few weeks ago. I missed a meal or something, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, you're starting your period," and I was like, "No, I think I'm just really low blood sugar." I could recognize that, but a lot of times that would get labeled as like hormonal, right? Because the symptoms are very similar and it impacts hormones. So we always want to think about supporting our body. And then sleep is going to be super important. And that cannot happen though if everything else is out of balance. A lot of women note the sleep disturbance. I'm waking up at 3 a.m. I'm wide awake. I can't go back to sleep. That's a sign of cortisol and insulin instability. And once we clean up the diet, shift the body composition, get inflammation down, boom, sleep improves. Okay. So you cannot correct sleep just with like positive vibes and meditation. It helps, but you have to correct the root cause, which is metabolic instability throughout your day. And once you do that, then you can restore, recover, and feel good the next day. So everything works together. I think one of the things that frustrates me the most, and this is just the nature of our world we live in with social media and Google and all that, everything is looked at in isolation, like do this thing, do this thing, do this thing, without any understanding of the full picture and how it all works together. But the body is a system. And when one thing is off, everything gets impacted. So to fix it, we really have to have more of a comprehensive strategic approach. All right, building lean muscle. This is super important and a huge mindset shift for most women. No, we're not going to become bodybuilders. We just want to make sure that we're not losing muscle. As hormones shift, as estrogen declines, we lose lean muscle at a rate faster than we did before. So this is why, like previously, you could just exercise whenever you felt like it and maintain your weight and feel good. It wasn't a big deal. But now it requires more strategy and more intention to support your body. Okay. A lot of women don't realize that muscle is your metabolism. It is your metabolic organ. That is the dial mover on how much energy you're burning at rest. And this is why women actually start rapidly gaining weight, because loss of muscle contributes to insulin resistance and slower metabolic rate. So you're like, I didn't change anything and suddenly I gained all this weight. You also lose a ton of muscle through pregnancies. So if you've had children, you lost more strength than you realize. Even if you were exercising and doing strength during pregnancy, it places a massive stress on your body. And a lot of women never regain that. And then they are thrown into perimenopause and menopause, and it dramatically impacts their body composition. So I know it can be hard to prioritize these things, and exercise sometimes gets put on the back burner. But again, when we start recognizing it as not just a luxury, not just something we do for fun, it's literally the key to our longevity and survival, boom, we start valuing it in a completely different way. Okay. A lot of women are kind of self-deprecating in this way where it's like, I'm lazy, or I'm just unmotivated, or I don't have time. And we give ourselves these labels, but it's honestly not any of that. It's really that you maybe just don't have the mental energy to put towards it. And sometimes for some women, even just picking like which workout to do can feel like too much. And this is why having a plan and following a program, I always recommend following a program, not just picking workouts and trying to piece it together on your own. You probably won't see much results with that. It's going to reduce your anxiety because you can just show up and make it happen. So we started doing our home fitness membership in 2020. So it's been 6 years, March of 2020 when COVID happened. And my husband does all the fitness programming. And I had a really hard time getting into a routine before that. And I was just kind of doing it myself and whatever. But when he started programming it, and all I had to do was show up, and it was in my schedule, and it would just be part of my life, and I didn't have to think about what to do or question, like, is this too much? Am I doing the right things? The mental load just lifted, right? And now I felt empowered because it's like, yeah, I can show up. That's not the problem. It's all the other mental loads that come with it that was holding me back. And I think that's the key for a lot of women. It's like, you're not a fitness professional. Like, I have a freaking degree in exercise science and I still don't want to program my own workouts, right? Like, that's not what I want to do. It takes too much time and energy. So outsourcing some of these things so that you can be successful is very important, because from my perspective, this is one of the best things and most important things that you can do for your energy, metabolism, longevity, and hormone balance. Okay. So I have a lot of things on here about the importance of it, but the other thing I just want to highlight is mental health and stress management. So when we build up stress in our life, we have to release it. If we don't have a positive outlet, it builds up and causes damage. And exercise is one of the ways that we can release that. Mental health is also extremely well managed and improved when we have exercise. And there's been studies on this, that consistent, regular exercise has the same or better impact than like antidepressant medications, okay? Because of all the ways that it improves your brain health. And something that I realized that I don't even think I expected, just from being so consistent over the last 6 years with working out and specifically strength training. When we as humans put ourselves in a hard place, and think about something you've been through hard in your life, right? We typically get through it, we are challenged, and then we grow from it. Exercise, that's what it's doing. We're intentionally putting ourselves in a hard situation, and it changes your brain, and it changes what you believe you're capable of accomplishing, and then that translates to real life. So when you're in those hard moments, you now believe things about yourself differently. And that's a really important skill and component that is often underestimated. It's easy to stay comfortable, like, oh, I just love my cardio, I'm safe here, I'm just going to keep doing it. But when you challenge yourself in a different way to do something hard and overcome and build that confidence back, man, everything changes mentally, physically, and it's just a whole new world of how to experience your own body. So I can't say enough good things about a consistent exercise program that's really intentionally supporting your body, not just depleting you, but really supporting everything that we've talked about. Okay. All right, a couple other things, nutrition principles. I struggle throwing these things out there because I know all these tips and tricks are online, and this is not actually what gets people results. Like, oh, get this much protein or eat these foods. I see women doing this all the time. These are all very helpful, but what I really want you to understand is how to balance things, consistently eating throughout the day, balancing meals, making sure you're getting the protein and the vegetables, and then also choosing the right foods. So we want to make sure that we're consistently eating the right things throughout the day, but these are just a couple guidelines to kind of help you offset some of the shifts that are happening in your body. So protein is really important. The number to kind of aim for, just if you want to reference, is around 0.8 to 1 pound grams of protein per pound of ideal body weight. So let's say your ideal body weight is like 135 pounds. You could aim for 135 grams of protein, something like that, or somewhere in there, okay, just for reference. But the key is not just hitting that number. It's about doing it with nutrient-dense foods and then spacing it evenly throughout the day. Okay, that's a big component. Starting your day with protein, I mentioned that, also very important. Other things that are helpful, we got to reduce inflammation, because as estrogen shifts and we have higher stress, inflammation rises, and this makes us feel not very good. This impacts your brain, your mental focus, function, your sleep. This literally impacts everything in your body. So an anti-inflammatory diet can be very helpful. That's including things that naturally occurring omega-3 fatty acids, like fatty fish, like salmon, help reduce that. But really, total diet quality is what's most important. Getting out things that are more highly processed, packaged, refined things, and adding in more whole nutrient dense foods. That's the best way to get rid of inflammation. And if you're eating a lot of nutrient-dense proteins paired with non-starchy vegetables, healthy fats like nuts and seeds, avocado, olive oil, you're going to feel so much better. Okay. And then blood sugar balance. And this is where we're not just cutting out sugar. I have women tell me all the time, I cut out sugar and carbs and I still am not seeing progress. It's not just about what you cut out. It's about what you're adding in. So intentionally balancing each meal, and I have this little meal pattern thing at the bottom, the breakfast, lunch, small snack with protein, and dinner. We want to be including the protein food, the non-starchy vegetables, maybe a small amount of starch, like sweet potato, for example, and then some healthy fat, and then balancing that evenly throughout the day, okay? We don't want to just be eating carbohydrates, even if they're healthy carbs or healthier snacks. We don't just want to be eating those in isolation because that'll cause like a feel good moment, but then a blood sugar crash, which leads to more cravings and energy crashes throughout the day. Okay. So these are just a couple like things that I think are very important shifts to make. And even by just making these shifts, you can start feeling a lot better. And then that in turn allows you to actually build lean muscle. Because if you have inflammation and you don't have enough protein, you're not going to build muscle, even if you are exercising and even if you are strength training. It's going to hold you back. And this is why a lot of women will start adding in strength, but not really seeing changes in their body. So it does really require both a nutrition and an exercise approach to truly support all those systems and shift body composition. So here's 6 things that I kind of want to leave you guys with that are really going to help move the needle. And just kind of recapping some of the stuff that we talked about. So getting enough protein at each meal paired with those non-starchy vegetables, that's going to be about 35 to 40 grams of protein roughly. If you in ounce equivalents, that's going to be somewhere, if you're doing a cooked weight of chicken, for example, somewhere like 4.5, 5 ounces of cooked weight chicken, or more like 6 ounces of salmon is going to be close to that number. If you want to have energy, feel good, impact your hormone balance, this is a non-negotiable as we age. We have to be intentional. One mistake I see a lot of women making is adding in protein foods, but not eating enough of it still, okay? They're eating more protein, but they're not eating enough. Or one day a week, they're eating the required amount, but then there are other days they're not high enough. So consistently getting all of that is very important. Hydration, this is often underestimated. I think most women I see are drinking somewhere between like 4 to 8 cups of water per day and feeling like that's enough. But research shows we actually need closer to 100 ounces a day. And you can drink more than that, but that's the minimum. And that doesn't mean chugging it all at once. Your body does not use or absorb it all at once. It needs to be broken up evenly throughout the day. And adding in electrolytes either in first thing in the morning and or before exercise and or mid-afternoon can be very helpful to support mood and energy. But when you're underhydrated, it impacts every system. It impacts your ability to regulate hunger hormones, it causes mood swings, fatigue, impacts your cognitive function, weight management. So increasing hydration actually supports a lot more systems than we think. It's one of those things like, oh yeah, I need to drink more water, but we don't put enough like credence on it, but it is very important. I recommend challenging yourself to get outside in the morning and get that morning light, take some deep breaths, go for a little walk, like calm your body and like set that intention for the day. That's a simple habit that you can incorporate that makes a huge impact on those energy systems. Remember, we're always thinking about what can I do to support the systems that might be struggling. Lifting weights 2 to 3 times a week, ideally closer to 3, and that's every muscle group 3 times a week. So some people are like, I do upper body one day and lower body another day, and they just do 2 days a week. It's like, well, you're only hitting those muscle groups one time then, right? You want to be hitting every muscle group 3 times a week. So full body stuff is really helpful. And then trying to get movement daily. So whether you're getting steps or going for walks or have a walking pad or treadmill at your house, those are all ways to get movement in your life is very important. We're making sure we're replenishing our minerals. That comes from a nutrient-dense diet. Lots of vegetables, nuts and seeds, protein foods are all very rich in the minerals that your body needs to produce neurotransmitters, to produce healthy hormones, and to help support that stress response. And then really working to protect your sleep. But remember, sleep cannot just improve in isolation. Everything listed above it has to really be balanced in order to truly impact your sleep. But I will tell you guys, it is so powerful to see women transforming their lives, because this is what I do, right? So I see this very regularly where things that they thought were out of their control, how they felt, how their hormones were functioning, shift completely and they feel like themselves again when you start actually implementing the correct things. So hopefully that's very empowering for you to realize, okay, there is actually something I can do to continue performing well, to continue supporting my body. There's a lot of shifts that we can make, and doing those things consistently is really what's required. So when we bring the value back to how we want to look and feel in our daily lives, we start putting higher priority on all of these things so we can perform really well. So when your body is supported, everything else becomes easier to lead, okay? Your clients, your vision, your family, your team, all of that starts falling in place because you are the foundation for all of that. And your body and ability to function well truly is the foundation. So that is the first thing we have to have in place. Doesn't mean you have to like, oh, I can't work today. I need to care for myself, right? But if you can put little things in place that support what you're trying to accomplish on a daily basis, that's when you're really going to see the shifts. So hopefully that helps give you guys some different perspective on how to care for your body, how to think about the changes that are happening, and then making sure that we're putting things in place so that you can thrive in your daily life. I have my Instagram down there. If you guys don't follow me, it's at the Perimenopause Diet. I'd love to connect with all of you there. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take those. But thank you all for being here. I do have a couple questions in the chat box I'm going to address if you guys want to put any more in there. So, okay, Bree asked about electrolytes. Yes. So I recommend the brand called Relight. It's Relyte. I just put the name in the chat box. That's a really good one. They have both an unflavored and a flavored, but it's sweetened with like stevia, so no added sugar. That one works really well. And most of my clients feel like that is really good. So some of them are a lot lower in sodium. That one's a little bit higher in sodium, which is good. What is the deal with fasting at different times? Is that not healthy? So that is one of those things that as women actually get into perimenopause, fasting is not gold standard anymore. It works really well for men, but for women, what can actually happen, and many of the studies showing the benefits of fasting have actually been done in men, not women. So for women, what happens is it can actually put more stress on your body and not give you the right nourishment for hormone balance. And that's where it can actually put more stress on cortisol. I work with women all the time who are like, oh, I did intermittent fasting and it's not working. And really what it is just a glorified like calorie restriction. It's just most women just cut out a meal. They just stop eating breakfast. And that's not what fasting actually is. It's supposed to be you eating the same amount of energy, just in a smaller window, but most people just don't eat breakfast. And that's not actually what it is. So it actually backfires because it's almost impossible to hit your protein goals and it's almost impossible to hit all your nutrient goals, vitamins and minerals throughout the day. I do not utilize fasting in my program. I use more of like a modified fast where it's like that 12 to 14 hour overnight. But I think it plays into the mentality of like, well, we just got to restrict ourselves and eat less, but it's not all that it's cracked up to be in that case. Let me make sure. Okay, did I miss any other questions? Okay. Yes, amazing. Any other questions? Are we all good? Thank you guys so much for being here. I will be sending this recording to Bree and we'll make sure that it gets posted if there's anything you want to revisit. I know it was packed with so much and there's so much I could share with you guys, but hopefully this was helpful. Thank you for being here and I hope to connect with you guys soon.
Thank you so much, Laura.